Have you ever found yourself getting stuck while trying to manifest your dreams? It's like you put all the effort in visualizing, meditating, journaling, but things still aren't falling into place the way you imagined. Well, the answer might be in the stars. As we move through our lives, sometimes there's this invisible force in the background, making things just a little more challenging or pulling us off track. One of those cosmic players is Venus square Neptune. And while it sounds a bit intimidating, understanding it can help you spot how you might be unknowingly sabotaging your own manifestations. Let's first break down what Venus square Neptune really is. Don't worry, I won't get too deep into the technicalities. Venus represents our relationships, love, beauty, and values. Think of it as the planet that governs how we attract things into our lives, whether it's love, money, or things that make us feel good. On the other hand, Neptune is the dreamy planet of illusions, ideals, and, well, sometimes deception. It's that cloudy energy that can make things blurry. You know that feeling when you just want things to be true so much you ignore obvious red flags? Yep, that's Neptune nudging you. When these two planets clash in a square, their conflicting energies can create confusion between what we desire and how we go about getting it. Just think of it like this. Venus is your heart, Neptune is your hazy dreams. Put them together and sometimes you might not see things clearly. The result, you start to sabotage your own manifestations, sometimes without even realizing it. This isn't meant to scare you though. The purpose is to shine a light on where things aren't working and how you can change them. So today we're going to walk through 5 key ways you might be unknowingly sabotaging your manifestation process during this Venus square Neptune transit. And more importantly, what you can do to fix it. The good news, once you're aware of these subtle traps, you can adjust your energy, get right back on track, and truly manifest the life you want. All right, let's dive into the first, probably the most common way we sabotage our manifestations: unrealistic expectations. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for dreaming big. Manifestation is about believing in possibilities beyond the limitations of the present, but when Neptune gets involved, we have this tendency to fall into wishful thinking. It's kind of like having rose-colored glasses on all the time. You start picturing an idealized scenario that doesn't quite match reality. For example, maybe you're manifesting love, and instead of attracting a healthy, balanced relationship, you're getting lost in fantasies about someone who's maybe unavailable or not really a great fit for you. This is where the energy of Neptune makes things tricky. It can blur the line between dreams that are realistic and fantasies that keep us stuck. When you set expectations that are way out of reach, you end up feeling frustrated when things don't manifest the way you thought they would. And here's the kicker, that frustration can actually lower your vibration, pushing your manifestation further away. So how do we work with this? The key here is to keep one foot on the ground. Yes, dream, but also check in with yourself regularly. Ask, is this goal actually aligned with where I'm at right now? What small steps can I take to bring this dream closer to reality? Breaking big manifestations down into smaller, practical steps makes them feel not only more achievable, but also gives the universe something to work with energetically. You're meeting it halfway. Next, let's talk about ignoring the red flags. And this one ties right into Neptune's foggy influence. You've probably heard the saying, what you resist persists. And in the case of this astrological square, this is so true. During Venus-Neptune squares, we tend to ignore important signs or red flags in our pursuit of what we desire. It's like we get tunnel vision, focusing on the end goal while totally missing or avoiding the obstacles in our path. In relationships, for instance, you might spot some early warning signs that the person you're with isn't really aligning with your higher self or your long-term vision. But instead of addressing those signals, you bury them, or maybe you're manifesting a career opportunity and you notice you're not feeling 100% about it, but you push ahead anyway because you're so focused on the prize that you ignore the doubts creeping in. The problem here is that those red flags don't just disappear, they usually show up later, and by then it might be too late to easily course correct. What's the antidote here? Radical honesty. It's time to take off the blinders and really look at the areas of your life with a clear, unfiltered lens. Neptune might try to make things appear all dreamy and perfect, but Venus wants authenticity. So take a step back and ask yourself, am I seeing the whole picture or just the parts I want to see? A helpful tool here could be journaling. Write out what's going on in your life right now and note any little signals your intuition is picking up on. Often when we put things down on paper, it's easier to see where we've been glossing over cracks or where things just aren't adding up. Moving on to the next point, and that's getting too emotionally attached to the outcome. When we're emotionally tied to something we want, like a relationship or a job, we tend to hold on tightly. We think about it constantly, we obsess over when it's going to happen, and we might even start trying to control it. Sound familiar? The issue with this is that when we try to control how things come into our lives, we're actually blocking the natural flow of the universe. Think of it like planting a garden. You wouldn't keep digging up the seeds every day to check if they're growing, right? You'd plant them, water them, and trust that nature will take care of the rest. The same goes for manifesting. Once you've set your intention, you have to release it and trust that it will come to fruition in its own perfect timing. During this Venus square Neptune transit, it's super easy to get emotionally overinvested in the things we're manifesting. It's almost like the energy clings to what we want, making us anxious if we don't see immediate results. This can lead to frustration and doubt, which spirals into negative energy. And that's not a place where manifestations can thrive. The solution here is detachment. And I know detachment can sound scary, like you're being asked to stop caring, but that's not the case at all. Detachment is about allowing the universe to work its magic without you trying to micromanage the process. Practice letting go by shifting your focus away from the specifics of how and when your desire will manifest. Instead, focus on maintaining a high vibration state, doing activities that make you feel aligned and joyful, even when you're not directly working toward your manifestation. When we invest in our overall happiness and well-being, we signal to the universe that we're ready to receive in an abundant, flexible way. Now we get to one of the deeper issues that Neptune tends to highlight on self-deception. This one's tricky because Neptune is the master of subtle illusions. Sometimes the biggest obstacle to manifesting what you want is we can trick ourselves into thinking we're doing all the right things, but deep down, we might be running old limiting beliefs, fears, or wounds that keep getting in the way. For example, you might be visualizing your perfect job, but underneath that, there's a part of you that's scared of succeeding. Maybe you fear being more visible or handling more responsibility, or maybe you're manifesting a romantic relationship, but there's some unresolved fear of being hurt lurking in the background. These hidden fears act like sabotage. They form an energetic block that prevents your manifestation from flowing. But because Neptune blurs the lines, it's easy to convince yourself these fears aren't important. What's the key to breaking this cycle? Radical self-reflection. This might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's ultimately liberating. Neptune squares are deeply healing if you're willing to look beneath the surface. Spend some quiet time in meditation or journaling. Really dig into what's operating in the shadows of your subconscious. What beliefs or fears are hiding there? What part of yourself have you been avoiding? The moment you bring these things into awareness, you can start addressing them, allowing your desires to manifest more freely. Lastly, let's talk about escapism, one of Neptune's favorite habits. Have you ever felt so overwhelmed with the hard parts of life that you turn to daydreaming or over-idealizing just to escape the discomfort? Yep, that's Neptune at work. During this Venus square Neptune transit, the desire to simply escape into fantasy becomes so much stronger. It's easier to get caught up in fantasizing about what you want rather than taking concrete steps to bring it into your life. This is where the self-sabotage happens. You get stuck in the dreaming phase without actually pushing things forward. It's kind of like telling yourself you'll start that business, or you'll get healthy, or you'll find the perfect relationship tomorrow. But when tomorrow comes, there's always a new excuse that keeps you from taking action. This leaves your manifestation lingering in fantasy land, never grounding into reality. And so, how do we fix this? The answer is simple. Take action. It doesn't have to be this huge, overwhelming thing. That's a trap too. Instead, start with small, real-world steps that pull you out of fantasy and into progress. If you're manifesting love instead of daydreaming about the perfect relationship all day, get out there and open your heart to real-world connections. If it's financial abundance you're after, start by organizing your budget or creating a small side hustle. Focus on what you can do today and trust that each little step you take brings you closer to aligning with the dream. Alright, so let's recap. During this Venus square Neptune transit, we've identified 5 powerful ways you might be unknowingly sabotaging your manifestations. By setting unrealistic expectations, ignoring red flags, getting too emotionally attached to the outcome, falling into self-deception, and escaping into fantasy instead of taking real action. But the great news here, is that by simply becoming aware of these patterns, you've already taken the first step toward changing them. From here, it's all about practicing grounded optimism, radical honesty, detachment, self-reflection, and consistent action. Remember, manifestation isn't about forcing your desires into reality. It's about aligning your energy in such a way that your intentions can flow into your life easily and naturally. If you work with the energies of this transit instead of against them, you'll come out the other side with a deeper sense of clarity, purpose, and most importantly, the ability to manifest the life you truly want. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Don't forget, if you found this helpful, please like this video and share it with someone who could benefit from it as well. And if you're feeling curious and want to dive deeper into your astrological chart and how these cosmic energies are playing out in your life, make sure to subscribe for more insights. You've got the power to manifest amazing things. Trust yourself, tune into the universe, and keep moving forward.